Page 1403. Page 1404. Page 1405. Page 1406. Page 1407. Page 1408. Page 1409. Page 1410. Page 1411. Page 1412. Page 1413. Page 1414. Page 1415. Page 1416. Page 1417. Page 1418. Page 1419. Page 1420. Page 1421. Page 1422. Page 1423. Page 1424. Page 1425. Page 1426. Page 1427. Page 1428. Page 1429. Page 1430. Page 1431. Page 1432. Page 1433. Page 1434. Page 1435. Page 1436. Page 1437. Page 1438. Page 1439. Page 1440. Page 1441. Page 1442. Page 1443. Page 1444. Distinguished Senator Cleopas Moses.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my highly respected colleagues. My name remains Distinguished Senator Cleopas Moses. I represent the very blessed people of Bayelsa Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, this morning, I rise to move the motion that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 2nd March 2021 be adopted. And I move this motion based on my satisfaction that having been presented by Mr. President to this Senate, page by page, indeed article by article, and it is a true reflection of what transpired on that day. So I move that these votes and proceedings be adopted. I so move.
This is a transformational motion. Distinguished Senator Nora Ladi Dadut.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I am Senator Nora Ladi Dadut, representing Plateau South. I rise to second the motion moved in respect of the votes and proceedings having been accepted. I want to second. I so second.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 2nd March 2021 be approved, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 2nd March 2021 is hereby approved. Petitions. Petitions. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Nazi Mohammed Bima on the National Center for Agricultural Mechanization Act, CAP N13 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Center for Agricultural Mechanization Act, CAP N13 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 452, first reading.
National Center for Agricultural Mechanization Act, CAP N13 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 452, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Kabir Abdullahi Bakia on the National Examination Management Commission Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Examination Management Commission Bill 2021 SB 656, first reading.
National Examination Management Commission Bill 2021 SB 656, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Shadi Oluremi Tinubu on the Nigerian Postal Service Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigeria Postal Services Bill 2021 SB 657, first reading.
Nigeria Postal Services Bill 2021 SB 657, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Michael Nachi on the Nigerian Salt Development Council Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigeria Salt Development Council Bill 2021 SB 658, first reading.
Nigeria Salt Development Council Bill 2021 SB 658, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Sulaiman Sadiq Umar on the Federal Orthopedic Hospital, Lafiaji, Kwara State Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, we wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Orthopedic Hospital, Lafiaji, Kwara State Establishment Bill 2021 SB 660, first reading.
Federal Orthopedic Hospital Lafiagi, Kwara State Establishment Bill 2021 SB 660, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first order of the day is a motion standing in my name on the executive communication from Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, on the 2021 budget of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund, in accordance with Section 4, 5, and 21 of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund Establishment Act 2019. Mr. President, distinguished senators, the purpose of this motion on the order paper is for the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, to be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action. I therefore move that the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, be referred to the appropriate committee for further legislative action.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion as moved.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate refers the request of Mr. President CNC to the appropriate committee for further legislative action, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The request of Mr. President CNC is referred to the Committee on Police Affairs to report back within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The second order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President CNC for the confirmation of the nomination of Muhammad Datijo Usman for appointment as Federal Commissioner representing Niger State in the National Population Commission in accordance with Section 154, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the purpose of this motion is on the other paper is for the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief to be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action. I therefore move that the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief be referred to the appropriate committee for further legislative action.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion as moved by Leader of the Senate.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the request of Mr. President CNC be referred to the appropriate committee for further legislative action, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The request of Mr. President CNC is referred to the Committee on National Population and Identity Card to report back within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The third order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, for the confirmation of the nomination of Mr. Halilu Ahmad Shaba for appointment as Director General of the National Spirit Research and Development Agency in accordance with Section 14, subsection 1 and subsection 2 of the National Spirit Research and Development Agency Act 2010. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the purpose of this motion on the other paper is for the request of Mr. President, CNC, to be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action. I therefore move that the request of Mr. President and CNC be referred to the appropriate committee for further legislative action.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion as moved.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the request of Mr. President CNC be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The request of Mr. President CNC is referred to the Committee on Interior to report back within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate. Okay, sorry, I take that again. The request of Mr. President CNC is referred to the Committee on Science and Technology. Science and Technology, right? To report back within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The fourth order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, for the confirmation of the nomination of Mr. Haliru Nababa for appointment as Controller General, Nigerian Correctional Service in accordance with Section 3, Subsection 1B of the Correctional Service Act 2019. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the purpose of this motion on the other paper is for the request of Mr. President, CEC, to be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action. I therefore move that the request of Mr. President, CEC, be referred to the appropriate committee for further legislative action.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do consider the request of Mr. President and C on the confirmation of the nomination of Haliru Nababa as Controller General Nigerian Correctional Service in accordance with Section 3(1)(b) of the Correctional Service Act 2019 for referral to the appropriate committee. I so say.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the request of Mr. President CNC be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The request of Mr. President CNC is referred to the Committee on Interior to report back within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The fifth order of the day is the second reading of the National Dermatology Specialist Hospital, Garkida, Adamawa State, Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished colleagues will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 16 February 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Dahiru Ahmed to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Senator Aishatu Dahiru Ahmed Binani.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. Thank you for the privilege accorded me to lead the debate on National Dermatology Hospital, Garkida, Adamawa State Establishment Bill. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, as far back as 1929, an international hospital was established for Garkida Agricultural Labor Colony by the Church of the Brethren Mission, United States of America. It was an ambitious effort located on 2,500 acres of land designed for treatment of leprosy and other illnesses, isolation center, and training of lepers in craft and improved agricultural methods. It was a reputable hospital with 12,507 leprosy patients admitted between 1929 and 2002, with reasonable number of patients coming from neighboring countries. With the advent of antibiotics in the 1940s and the use of Dapson to treat leprosy, the role of the hospital changed. Dr. Roy Farzagraf, the medical superintendent, transformed the hospital to an internationally well-known center for developmental work in surgical rehabilitation, physiotherapy, protective footwear, prosthesis, and training. In 1976, the Church of the Brethren Mission made the hospital to become an international referral center for leprosy and dermatology patients. The Church of the Brethren Mission ran the hospital until 1976, when it was handed over to Ecclesia Nyanwa Church in Nigeria, EYN. The EYN had minimal capacity to maintain the hospital at an international level. Therefore, the Netherlands government took over the hospital and ran it for 2 years before handing it over to the Ministry of Health of the former Gongola state. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, it is unfortunate that 92 years after, this noble work of providing tertiary health care at the reach of the common man was neglected and allowed to decay in vigor and extent, thereby became weak and inconsequential. I am, however, encouraged by the effort of the federal government in providing specialized health care for specific clusters of diseases, such as National Orthopedic Hospital, Senator Mandia, sorry. National Health Care, such as National Orthopedic Hospitals, National Eye Center, National Psychiatric Hospital, National Ear, Nose and Throat Hospital, and National Infectious Diseases Hospital. Notwithstanding, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to draw your attention to the fact that the existing International Tertiary Dermatology Hospital in Garkida, Adamawa State has been conspicuously left out in the federal government's drive to provide tertiary healthcare services to Nigerians. A dermatology hospital to provide diagnostic, curative, promotive, and rehabilitative dermatology, cosmetic dermatology, allergy, all skin and hair treatment is seriously and urgently needed to fill the gap, and the Dermatology Hospital Garkida, Adamawa State naturally fits all the requirements for a national dermatology hospital. There are many reasons for a national dermatology hospital in Garkida. One, the hospital will allow specialty care providers focus on particular areas of care in which they have extensive training and education. Two, the tears and frustration expressed by patients with pigmentary disorders and the psychological impact of those disorders will be effectively handled by the hospital. Three, skin cancer experts and other areas of skin condition will be produced from the academic section of the National Dermatology Hospital. Four, it is a well-known destination for patients all over the country for nearly a century. Five, limited infrastructural and academic template for an international dermatological hospital already exists. Six, the hospital will provide sustained leadership in patients' care, in research, and in training leaders of dermatological specialty in an environment that fosters creativity, diversity, inclusiveness, and synergy, leading to a regional and national recognition for their clinical expertise and teaching. Seven, the host community will benefit from improved access to services, enhanced health of the community, advanced medical knowledge, and reduced government burden. Eight, hospital tends to be the largest employer in the healthcare field in their given areas, and it is expected that hospital will help stabilize the economy, the community's economy, and promote careers in health, particularly at nearby high schools and colleges. The people of the Northeast geopolitical zone, and especially medically underserved, low-income, and/or minority population will be served. 10, much needed federal government presence will be enhanced by the establishment of this hospital, a project that is long overdue. On this note, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I urge you to therefore unreservedly support this bill, as this will provide the much needed health care and academic services, as well as restore the lost glory of the international nature of the hospital in Garkida, Adamawa State. Thank you for your usual support.
Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Oji Ozokalo. I represent Abia North. In supporting the bill by Senator Binani, I want the Senate to consider that that zone has been chemicalized, and a lot of skin diseases are coming out of that zone now because of the amount of bullets and amount of weapons being used to fight Boko Haram. So I don't want any of our colleagues to waste time in supporting this motion, because it's a very, very good thing, because a lot of leprosy on that area and skin diseases on that area of our country. So I urge all my colleagues to kindly support this motion and support this bill, which will be to benefit of people of Northeast, not only
in Northeast, but other Nigerians who used to go to India and all the places to treat their skin diseases. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Robert Ajayi Borofis, representing Ondo North Senatorial District. I want to congratulate my distinguished colleague and my chairman for sponsoring this bill. This is an important bill. I've gone through the historical trajectory of this hospital. It's rather unfortunate that an important asset like this have been neglected. I've gone through the reasons that the sponsor of this bill advanced for the need to revitalize and re-energize this national asset for the benefit of Nigerians. And I think there are others. Mr. President, we are moving around a cloud of microorganisms, viruses, bacteria, and droplets of chemicals that are very, very dangerous to the body. They find their way into our body system. In addition to this, Mr. President, because of our climatic situation, we're exposed to ultraviolet radiation, which can also damage our body. And also, there are a lot of anthropogenic activities that we engage in that also stands a good chance of damaging our body or our system. Last week, we discussed the issue of cosmetics, that application of cosmetics can do a lot of harm to the body. So for all this, Mr. President, the first line of defense of our body is the skin, the epidermal layer of the skin with our melanin and also the keratin. And if this first line of defense is compromised, life will be endangered. And so the establishment and revitalizing and re-energizing this hospital, which has been a referral center, is something that is desirable because it's going to invite or rather concentrate a critical pool of dermatologists that will be in situ to address the various types of skin diseases. Somebody mentioned leprosy, psoriasis. At times when we take some drugs, it causes some immunological reaction that breaks out rashes in our body. So this is an important branch of medicine that has not been given the necessary emphasis. Having said this, Mr. President, I rise to second this bill and to plead with my colleagues that they should support the second reading of the bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Bikula Amosu.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ibikunle Amosun. I represent Ogun Central. First, let me join my colleagues in commending the efforts of distinguished Senator Aisha Tudayo. Mr. President, when you read this, the lead debate on the establishment of this specialist hospital, you will feel sorry for us because this is the bane of our nation. We lack what we call maintenance culture. How on earth can we allow an hospital that is almost a century old? In 8 years' time, this hospital will be 100 years old. And somehow, under our nose, we allow the hospital to degenerate. So much so that if you go there, because I actually engaged the Senator Dial, and she did mention the parlous condition of the place. So, Mr. President, I think this, if we get our act right, things like this should be avoided. All our institutions, all our dated institutions should be kept, should be well maintained. You will go to in other climes, you will see they will tell you some hospitals, they are almost 200 years old, some 80 years old, and they are still functioning well. Indeed, with time, practice makes perfect. All these hospitals, when they are well maintained, they become a world known referral centers. And that is why you will see us traveling far and wide outside the shores of Nigeria for things like this. Let me now get back to the nature of the hospital. Anything, we are human. Anything that will affect us, if you see anybody, whether you want to even marry, either you are a man or woman, you look at the person you want to see. You want to see the skin. When the skin is affected, of course, this has some psychological implications. Negative one. If you've seen people with skin pigmentation, you won't believe even their confidence is affected. Beside all of this, if we are able to support this bill and the hospital is eventually established, you will discover that it will be a money-spinning venture, because if you get it right, with true researches, our doctors, our specialists in skin disorder, they will come up with things. Look at our population alone, not to talk of West African sub-region. They will come up with researches to pinpoint the necessary things that you can do, you can use. And you will see that all our pharmacists, everybody, will get to work. They will come up with necessary drugs that can cure all of these things. Look at skin cancer as we speak today. Mr. President, you've seen those that are affected with this, and the kind of money that they are using to go around the world to find cure for this will tell you that this is one bill that should be supported. I will want to plead with our colleagues that all of us should support this bill, and when it is eventually passed and this hospital is established, you will discover that it will more or less become a referral center that everybody, any kind of skin disorder will go. And not to talk of the economic implication of this to where the hospital will be located and to us as a nation. So I support this bill wholeheartedly, Mr. President, and I want to enjoin my colleagues to so do. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Matthew Orogide.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Matthew Urogide, Edo South. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I stand up to lend my support to this bill. I want to commend distinguished Senator Ashetu for bringing this bill at this point in time. Mr. President, my support for this bill is based on the available statistics of tertiary health institutions that we have in Nigeria. And then, of course, the very huge gap that we have seen in the establishment of specialist centers for the cure of skin diseases. Just like this bill referred in one paragraph to other existing tertiary health facilities like the orthopedic hospitals, the eye hospitals, and the cancer hospitals, the kidney hospitals. The one that is clearly not made for is our dermatological referral center. Therefore, this one that had been in existence since 1929, but just because of the way we handle our institutions, the negligent tendency in the maintenance of our health facilities, this hospital today ought to be very well established. We can see the trajectory, how it has come from the church mission up to state government and then of course federal government. So this be asking for it now to be formalized as a referral center that can take care of those skin diseases. I just believe we should not waste time in accepting this, Mr. President. It is a well-informed bill, and the way it is for those of us who are very zealous about providing tertiary health facilities to our teeming populace. This one is one institution that we need at this point in time. I so support it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Deputy Minority.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Boacha. I represent Taraba South. Mr. President, I want to add my voice in support of this bill. But before that, I want to appreciate my colleague who has refreshed our memory this morning by taking us down to the part of history, particularly those of us from that part of the world. Mr. President, as a growing young child, Garkida was very known to me. And it became famous because of the presence of this leprosy center. As she explained in the lead debate, the center attracted patients across the nation and even beyond the borders of Nigeria. It was so effective because the missionaries who were managing this center proved truly their ingenuity and expertise. But today, the community that hosted this center appears to be reduced to a rubble. And why I'm saying this, because if this bill scales through this second reading and eventually this specialist hospital is established, it will be a clear signal to the world of evil that evil will not prevail over good. Because what the evil world is trying to do is to downgrade the community of Garkida, which was very famous for doing good for people who suffered from leprosy. And I think this is a bold step in the way to tell the world that we will not be distracted by activities of criminality in the Northeast. And it is in this direction, Mr. President, that I rise to add my voice to this, that this bill be given the needed support by this chamber, and that the dream for this specialist hospital will be achieved. Thank you, Mr. President, for this support.
Is there anybody against the bill? Anyone against the bill? Okay. Those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the specialized National Dermatology Hospital at Garkida for the prevention, diagnostic, curative, promotive, rehabilitative, cosmetic, allergy of the condition and disease affecting the skin, and for other matters connected therewith 2021 SB 631, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the specialized National Dermatology Hospital at Garkida for the prevention, diagnostic, curative, promotive, rehabilitative, cosmetic, allergy of all conditions and disease affecting the skin, and for other matters connected therewith 2021 second reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Health to report back within 4 weeks. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The sixth order of the day is the second reading of the University Teaching Hospital Reconstitution of Board, etc. Act Cap U15 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021. Distinguished colleagues will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Thursday, 11 February 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Tanko Umar Al-Makura to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Senator Umar Tanko Al-Makura.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Umar Tanko Al-Makura. I represent Nasarawa South. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm delighted to lead the debate on the general principles of the University Teaching Hospitals, reconstitution of boards, etc. Act number 10, 1985, amended Bill 2021. This bill was read for the first time on the 10th of February 2021. The objective of this bill is to amend the University Teaching Hospitals Reconstitution of Boards, etc. Act number 10, 1985. In this bill referred to as Principal Act, to include an additional teaching hospital, the Federal University Lafayette Teaching Hospital, quote and unquote, thereby giving the recognition to the teaching hospital sought to be included in the Principal Act through this bill. In particular, the bill seeks to amend the first schedule to the Principal Act by A, inserting after the existing item O, quote and unquote, new item P, quote and unquote, to read P, the Federal University Lafayette Teaching Hospital. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, essentially, the proposed amendment, when passed, will complete all the required legislative engagements or enactments to bring the Federal University Lafayette Teaching Hospital into full operation. I wish to state that in compliance with Order 77, subsection 3 of the Senate Standing Orders 2015 as amended, this bill will, when passed, will have no immediate financial burden on the federal government treasury, as the facilities for the immediate takeoff of the proposed teaching hospital for the Federal University Lafayette and its management board have been donated by the Nasarawa State government. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Adi Stephen Ode.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Stephen Adi Ode. I represent the good people of Cross River North Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I stand here to support this bill, this amendment, as proposed by Senator Al Makura, because I am aware of the fact that the university is a new university, and it is expected that such a university requires all the facilities, all the enabling laws to enable it function effectively. I am aware of the relatively new establishment of this university, and I want to support, because it is only when this is amended and properly passed that the university will enjoy a full-fledged facilities. And so I want to enthusiastically support this amendment as submitted and presented by Senator Al Makura. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Barojibri.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barojibri. First of all, let me commend the sponsor of this bill for bringing it forward, because it's an important bill. And I also want to commend the State government for donating the teaching hospital to Federal University Lafayette. Having done so, having donated the teaching hospital to the Federal University Lafayette, I think the right thing to do is to give legal backing as being sought by this bill to the Federal University life year so that it can become operational. Because doing that, we have to further develop Federal University life year to a full-fledged, already it's a full-fledged university, but get it well developed so that it can have areas of courses and programs that will help to educate the people of Nasarawa State and indeed the North Central Zone, geographical zone of this country. Mr. President, we all know the importance of teaching hospital, and not only that, the close proximity of Abuja to Lafia will help to at least reduce the number of, because here in Abuja is growing every day. Every year we're having more population in Abuja. So Lafia Teaching Hospital will help in taking care of our residents here in Abuja who are not be able to access the medical facilities here. They can easily move to Lafia because it's very close to Abuja here. So it's really important, not to Nasarawa State alone, but it's going to be of help to residents of Abuja as well, and indeed the entire country. So I support this bill, and I urge my colleagues to also support this bill. Thank you.
Is anybody against the bill? Is anyone against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the University Teaching Hospital Constitutional Board's ETC Act Cap U15 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 and for related matters 2021 SB 617 second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the University Teaching Hospitals Reconstitution of Boards ETC Act Cap U15 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 and for related matters 2021 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Health to report back within 4 weeks. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The seventh order of the day is the second reading. The seventh order of the day is the second reading of the National University of Health and Medical Science, Suleja, Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished colleagues will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 21st February 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Sani Mohammed Musa to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Senator Mohammed Sani Musa.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I stand to lead the debate on a bill for the establishment of the National University of Health and Medical Sciences, Suleja, Niger State. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate of this very important bill for the establishment of the National University of Health and Medical Sciences, Suleja. The bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Wednesday, 17 February 2021. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill seeks to establish the National University of Health and Medical Sciences, Suleja, and make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration. The establishment of this institution is informed by the imperative to create more access to higher health and medical studies in view of the large number of qualified candidates who are annually stranded in their failed attempts in gaining admission into higher institutions in the states and in the country as a whole. The objects of this university shall be to encourage the advancement of learning and to hold out to all persons and without distinction of race, creed, sex, or political conviction, the opportunity of acquiring a higher education in medicine and other health sciences. to develop and offer academic and professional programs leading to the award of diplomas, first degrees, postgraduate research, and higher degrees, with emphasis on planning, adaptive, technical, maintenance, developmental, and productive skill in the field of medicine, biomedical engineering, scientific, and allied professional disciplines relating to health resources, with the aim of producing socially matured persons with capacity not only to understand, use, and adapt existing technologies in the health industry, but also to improve on those disciplines and develop new ones, and to contribute to the scientific transformation of medical and other health practices in Nigeria. C, to act as agents and catalysts through postgraduate training, research, and innovation for the effective and economic utilization, exploitation, and conservation of Nigerians' natural and economic and human resources. Natural, economic, and human resources. To offer to the general population, as a form of public service, the result of training and research in medicine and allied disciplines, and to foster the practical application of those results. To establish appropriate relationship with other national institutions involved in training, research, and development of healthcare. To identify medical needs of Nigeria and to find solutions to them within the context of overall national development. To provide and promote sound basic scientific training as a foundation for the development of medicine and allied disciplines, taking into account indigenous culture, the need to enhance national unity, the need to vastly increase the practical content of student training, and adequate preparation for graduates for self-employment in medicine and allied professions, and to offer academic programs in relation to the training of manpower for medicine and allied profession in Nigeria. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the health sector has a very high potentials and requires high-level medical, scientific, and administrative skills to drive it. The establishment of this university will go a long way into achieving these targets. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill is well organized for its very own purpose of a modern academic and research institution. The objectives of the university, as articulated above, are supportive of its mission and broad vision of a modern institution that will develop world-class medical personnel that can sustainably manage our nation's health sector by providing medical expertise at the highest level. The university is therefore to further advance knowledge through research and nurture unique innovations, entrepreneurship, and wealth management in its core area of interest. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the enactment of this bill will help in transforming the health and educational fortunes in Nigeria, in producing the desired medical manpower and expertise that Nigeria is yearning for. And this university, when established, will complement the University of Abuja, the only other federal government higher institution in and around the FCT. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, let me also stress the fact that the location of the university site, Suleja, is an ancient and historic city that is a host city to half of the civil servants that works in Abuja is instructive. What this means is that the place has a clear crying need for federal government presence. And the university will be one way to restoring and strengthening the citizens' sense of belonging to this nation. Suleja is more of a cosmopolitan city that has contributed immensely to the growth and development of the federal capital, hence deserving a national presence with the establishment of an institution of higher education. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, it may interest you to know that the Niger State government is ready to part with over 1,000 acres of land with structures ready at the present IBB University field base, Suleja, in support of the establishment of this institution. It is keen to know that field base was the first administrative headquarters of the FCT administration. Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues, in line with Order 773 of our standing rules, the financial compendium is hereby attached. I urge you all to support this bill for the second reading. Thank you, Mr.
Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. I represent Niger North Senatorial District. I'm from Niger State. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to support this bill. And in doing so, Mr. President, I want to highlight the following. Of course, having a University of Health and Medical Sciences as a national institution to be sited in Suleja is a project that we should support. As it is known, Suleja has been host to the FCT before it took off in full-fledged as we have it today. The field base, which the mover of this bill said would be used for the site of the institution, was actually the location where the FCT started. And that land is definitely a prime land. It's well sited, well located. As we know, if you look at the highway from Abuja to Suleja every evening, you will know that Suleja is hosting quite a large number of population that work in the FCT. And so to complement the cosmopolitan development and urbanization that we are seeing in Suleja and its environment, it is not too much for us to have a National University of Health and Medical Sciences, especially as we know it today that the pandemic which the world has witnessed has exposed almost every nation, including Nigeria, with respect to the deficit in our health infrastructure. And the deficit in our health infrastructure is mostly seen in the area of human capital. Yes, Nigeria, with a population of over 200 million, if you put side by side the number of trained medical personnel we have, then you will know that the population of our professionals in the health sector is quite low compared to the population that they should be attending to. So having this university will definitely offer an opportunity for young Nigerians who desire to have a profession in this area and who annually seek for admission in universities where there is a cutoff mark, and they make the cutoff mark but they are not able to get admission. Our records have shown very clearly that every year more than 1.5 million Nigerians write the JAMB examination, out of which, of course, medical sciences takes just like a chunk of 5 to 10%. And the slots in the various universities is definitely not sufficient to offer these young Nigerians admission. Some of them end up reading courses they never like, and the frustration setting. Mr. President, to remove the frustration of young Nigerians, I think having more of this type of universities is definitely long overdue. And the National University of Health and Medical Sciences, Suleja, is one intervention that can help to curb the frustration among youths who desire to read these courses and end up not getting it. With this, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want my colleagues to support that this bill be read the second time and to give it all the necessary support as a National University of Health and Medical Sciences. I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Sadiq Suleiman Umar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I am Sadiq Suleiman Umar. I represent the good and decent people of Kwara North, and we all are. Mr. President, I rise to support this bill for the establishment of the National University of Health and Medical Sciences, Suleja, Niger State. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, my conviction and passion in supporting this bill is not unconnected with my consistent position that the only way and our only pathway to national development is to focus and pay the highest of attention to our health and our education. As it is today in Nigeria, there's so much quackery going on in the health sector, and that leads to so much loss of lives. This institution, if established, will not only cater for the highest scale required in the nation, but will also take care of both middle layer and lower layer manpower required for our health sector. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I urge us all to support this bill so as to achieve our dream of having a country where people are able to afford healthcare delivery. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Bello Mandi.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Bello Mandia. I represent Katsina South. I rise to lend my voice in support of this very important bill. We are a country of more than 200 people, but we have only 200 million people, but we have only 32 fully accredited medical schools and 6 partially accredited. I think establishing an institution like this will help to close the gap between the doctor and patient ratio in this country. Let me urge my colleagues, because this is a straightforward bill, support this bill for second reading. Thank you.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the National University of Health and Medical Sciences, Suleja, and for matters connected there with 2021 SB 633, second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the National University of Health and Medical Sciences, Suleja, and for matters connected there with 2021 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Health to report back within 4 weeks. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The eighth order of the day is a motion standing in the name of Senator Sulaiman Sadiq Umar and 7 others on the need for the construction of the Badagry-Sokoto Expressway to promote economic growth and development. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Umar to move the motion.
Senator Sadiq Sulaiman Umar.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I am Sadiq Sulaiman Umar. I represent the good and decent people of Para North, and we all are. Mr. President, I rise to move the motion that there is need for the construction of the Badagry-Sokoto Expressway to promote economic growth and development. With me are 14 other senators. My apologies, senators from Lagos State and Sokoto State have been omitted. For the records, they are part of the motion. The Senate knows that the Badagry-Sokoto Expressway is a federal government road which connects 12 states: Lagos, Badagry, Ogun, Agbara, Oyo, Abeokuta, Kwara, Niger, Kebbi, and Sokoto states at the national level, with Benin, Togo, and Niger at the international level. Also, in addition to being a Nigerian section of the Trans-West Coastal Highway project to link 12 West African coastal nations. Aware that the Badagry-Sokoto Expressway was initiated as part of the 4th National Development Plan, which was commenced by the General Olusegun Obasanjo regime in 1978, but was abandoned in 1979. That is over 40 years now. after he handed over power to Alhaji Shehu Shagari of blessed memory. Further aware that the original conception of this expressway was a linkage road between the north and south of Nigeria and some West African countries through the Seme border. To ease carriage of goods across the borders as it connects Apapa seaports and Seme land border, as well as one of the largest industrial hubs in the country, the Agbara Industrial Estate. Cognizant that in the 2009, the federal government, in collaboration with the Lagos state government, started the reconstruction and expansion of the Lagos-Badagry part of the Badagry-Sokoto Expressway from 6 to 10 lanes, prompting economic development around the area. But the project was abandoned due to lack of funds, thereby affecting the economic activities negatively. Further cognizant that in 2019, the federal government, in collaboration with the Lagos state government, resumed the reconstruction of the Lagos-Badagry part of the Badagry-Sokoto Expressway, but nothing is being done to construct the rest of the expressway. Assured that the road, if constructed, will boost food and agricultural production and connect these rural communities to major urban corridors, a necessary condition for improved agricultural value chain. The connection to urban corridors will increase off-season employment for rural youth and sustain youth employment and employability. Further assured that the proximity to the western neighbors of the country will improve cross-border market and international trade and help advance Nigeria's commitment to regional and continental trade. I'm convinced that the construction of this road will add to the number of north-south roads, enhance the durability of the roads, reduce distance, and help integrate the western flank of the country into national roads, and help integrate the western flank of the country into the national road structure, with strong implication for national integration and development. The western and eastern flanks of the country are the least integrated in terms of road network, and therefore the poorest using disaggregated national data. Accordingly, resolves to mandate the committees on works, finance, national planning, and economic development to join interface with the Ministry of Works, Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA, and other relevant stakeholders to determine why the Badagry-Sokoto Expressway has been abandoned for such a long time. Provide a permanent and sustainable solution or plan and report to the Senate within 2 weeks. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Musa.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District. I stand to support this motion wholeheartedly because of its importance to the economic development of our country. It is a link road that will have now reduced the burden of the only one single road that goes through Jeba, linking north and south. So if this road is actually constructed, I think it will have free movement. It will also sustain the lifespan of our roads that have become unmotorable. And I will want to use this opportunity also to appeal to federal government to see how they can initiate a build, operate, and transfer methodology in this. Because that road is economically viable. So we can have investors that are ready to come and invest to construct that link road between Badagry to Sokoto and then put a toll. It will create another economic zone for this country. Looking at the fact that Babana and the rest towards Benin Republic, a lot of businesses will be coming in here. So I so stand to support this bill wholeheartedly, sir.
Senator Tolu Adebi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues. Let me first of all commend my good friend Sadiq for bringing up this motion. Mr. President, let me give you some historical background on this road. If you're aware, at the tip of this road, you have the Agbara Industrial Estate. This is an estate that consists of over 100 companies, great AAA companies. We have Procter & Gamble, we have Nestle, GlaxoSmithKline. All these estates are located at the tip of this express road. You also have the Opik Industrial Estate that consists situated on over 8,000 hectares of land with so many industries. And it will be interesting to note that when this express road was being constructed, that was why Agbara Industry was set up there so that a lot of these industries can move their goods up north. And that was the whole plan before the road was abandoned. Mr. President, I think if there is one road that this country needs to build, it is this Agbara-Sokoto Express Road. I think it's economically viable. It's a road that can even be tolled and give the country the return on investment. I think it's a road that also enables companies to take their goods all to the neighboring countries, especially in light of the African Continental Agreement that we've also signed now. So it's a very, very vital economic route. It will interest you to know this is a road that also I go on when I go to my hometown. And the road is still relatively, part of it that has been tarred, is still relatively in very good condition. You can drive for about 40 minutes and you don't even run into any car, and on a very nicely tarred road. So it's important that the government goes back to this road, opens it up, make this road viable so that a lot of the goods that are going on the express, Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, can now be easily taken up north and then open this country up for more economic investment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Adiola Solomon Olamileko.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleague, Adiola Solomon Olamileko, representing Lagos West Senatorial District in the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, let me thank the mover of this motion because it's an all-important motion that is long overdue. Mr. President, what we are seeing here today has to do with the image of our country, the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Badagry corridor of this road is an international road. And the state of the road as we speak is nothing to write home about. The government of Lagos State just this weekend set up a 7-man panel committee to liaise with the federal government on the state of this road. Mr. President, how can we imagine that the road that links 12 states in Nigeria together, Sokoto Badagry Road, is an alternative road? The road has been constructed, but it was abandoned. Because if you drive on that road, you will still see some tar around that road, but there are potholes, there are portions that are not constructed at all. My colleague has talked about the economic importance of this road, how economic viable it will be to us. Imagine I drive all the way from Sokoto down to Badagry in Lagos without going through Ibadan Expressway, Akure, Delta area. And this is a project that has started since 1978. 1978. If successive government has come, and if it is 50 kilometers they have been doing, by now it will have been a completed project. And it will not be bad. Under the Buhari administration, if this project can be brought back to life, it is very important. I don't want to lay the claim or the blame on anybody, but it is right, it's the right time that we are bringing it to the table for us to start looking in this direction, that there is urgent need for the economic presence from the international perspective for us to attend to this road.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this is road for Nigerian, not only for the Southwest, not only for the North Central, not only for the Northwest, but for the Southeast and the South-South. So I have a call on all my colleagues to let us support this particular motion so that at least for once, we have a road that can connect us as a country, not only Second Niger Bridge, Sokoto-Badagry Road as well will play a very important role with the same importance attached to the Second Niger Bridge and other international road or state road that are constructed. So once more, Mr. President, I thank the prime mover of the motion, and I'm in full support of this motion. I so submit, Mr.
Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, Niger North Senatorial District. Mr. President, let me add my voice to the debate on this very important motion. As it has been said, the motion is looking at the western flank of this country from Badagry down to up to Sokoto. As it has been said, this road has a very long history. In those days, it was called the Egbado Corridor, and it was a very, very busy and bustling corridor for economic activities which transverse even outside this country. And of course, like we know, the bulk of Nigeria's economic trade is along the west coast. And to get into this west coast, you cannot do without this corridor. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, as we seek to look inward for economic solutions to diversification of the economy, it is time for us to take those very important projects that will allow us to take ownership of our resources. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, because of the neglect of these roads, so many sharp economic practices are taking place to the disadvantage of Nigerians and the Nigerian economy. And I believe having this road taken very seriously and seeing funding for this road, we give hope, like the last speaker has said, to the entire nation. Because economic activities definitely are not confined just to a group of people. All the roads that we traverse, when you travel to any road in this country, you see people from different parts. And I think the idea of this Sokoto-Badagry road is one that our founding fathers have talked about, and as it has been said, unfortunately, successive governments have paid lip service or no attention to it. I want to support this motion totally and say that, of course, when the western flank of this country is opened, as represented by the Sokoto-Badagry Expressway, I think Nigeria will witness a very strong economic rebirth. I urge my colleagues to support this motion. Thank you.
Senator Bikula Amosu.
Thank you once again, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ibikunle Amosu. I represent Ogun Central. Again, Mr. President, let me join my colleagues in commending the efforts of the mover of this motion. Mr. President, this is one motion that I think is very important because of the strategic nature of what it's discussed. Mr. President, the road in question, just like has been said, if you look at the historical antecedent of this road, this is a road that's about 42 years old. Again, the way we are, we have found it difficult to even maybe complete the road or even do maybe about 20 or even 30% of the road. Mr. President, this road is one of the national strategic assets if we get our act right. There can be no development, Mr. President, if the infrastructures are not there. Infrastructures are the enabler for social, for economic, for security, indeed for development of whatever sector that you can think of. When the infrastructures are not there, economic activities will not be attracted to such places. In fact, social development will not be there. our security concern will continue to be what it is. So, Mr. President, that road is not just any road. I remember as governor when I applied that I want to construct the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, I was replied that because of the strategic nature of that road, that the federal government want to keep the road because it has security implications and so many other things. Indeed, if Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is that qualified and described, this road from Badagry, that runs from Badagry all the way to Sokoto, is even 10 times more in terms of strategic importance when you compare it even with the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Mr. President, if this road is fixed, it will open the corridor. It will bring out development. Indeed, if you look from Badagry, even to Ogun State alone, if you see that corridor alone, what it will bring, and from Ogun State, when you move through Abeokuta to Igboara, to back of Iseyin, like that to back of Ogbomoso, like that to Kwara, as it goes like that to Kebbi, to Sokoto, indeed they will say that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So what our forebears tried to do is to create a road right from Badagry that will run straight until when you get to Sokoto. Imagine if that road is there. Even the crisis we are having now, once a road is done, it will even be difficult for all of those people that is, they call bandits, they call this, they call that, because easily people can track them. Mr. President, just imagine if people come out from Agbara or from the port and they can just get to a road and they will go maybe the next 10 hours or so. They will have moved from maybe Badagry to Sokoto. Imagine the kind of development that we will have witnessed. So, Mr. President, I want all of us not to just take this road. This is another road that we want to do. Yes, I'm happy with what we are doing, what the government is doing with the second Niger Bridge, with what we are doing in between Port Harcourt and Bodo, with what we are doing in Lagos-Ibadan. But this is one road that cuts across so many states. Look at even the West African sub-region. Look at all of those countries that are bordered by all of these states that we've mentioned. This will open up our commerce, our trade with all these our neighboring countries, and even among trades among our states. So on that one, Mr. President, I want to support this bill, and I want us to make it as a point of maybe emergency, even maybe supplementary budget, so that this road can be started immediately, and we should take glory that this ninth Senate, we are taking glory for it that this road is constructed during the tenure of this administration and during this ninth Senate, Mr. President. Thank you.
Senator Engineer Kabir Barkia, Katsina Central.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Senator Engineer Kabir, representing Katsina Central. Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to support this very important motion because I keep on saying first development of any nation is to have good roads and also to have good network. So this very particular road, of course, it was in the plan for over 40 years. Definitely, if constructed, it will provide many things, many opportunities. Not only, of course, maybe within the country, but also the countries that bordered Nigeria. For example, like connect Benin Republic, Nigeria to Niger, and all the other countries. So definitely this is very important road, Mr. President. As many of my colleagues said, of course, it will enhance the activities of the country. It is viable. Definitely, if we constructed this road, it will assist, of course, in easing the transport from Lagos, from even Benin, Lagos, and Sokoto, and also pass to Niger, and also other parts of the country of Benin Republic, like, in Sokoto, that border in Sokoto side. And Mr. President, what I'm trying to say, if, for example, the federal government sees this, it may be a very big burden. Why can't we propose concession? So that at least if this road is being constructed, the money can be recouped at least through tollings and way bridges. So we have many ways that, of course, this road can be constructed. Therefore, just as my colleagues suggested, if it's possible, we can, of course, include it in this budget that is coming, so that at least we can definitely make sure that this road is constructed. And another way, of course, the federal government can liaise with the state government. That's like Lagos State started, from Badagry to Lagos. And also, all the other states, Oyo State, and up to the state in the northern part of the country, they can sit down and see they give their contribution so that this very, very important road will be constructed. Therefore, I urge all my colleagues, and of course, to support this very, very important road because of importance, so that it will be constructed. Thank you, Mr. President, and distinguished colleagues.
Senator Lola Ashuru.
Mr. President, this is one motion that has received totality of support from almost all the senators. And I always think that Nigeria must get its priority right. If our priority is right, there's no doubt about it that Badagry-Sokoto Road is one of the most important roads in Nigeria. I always believe that roads in Nigeria must be constructed on grid. The only thing we have between the north and south today is the Lagos-Ibadan axis. And I believe that if we are serious with our development, we should look at the western flank, eastern flank, and road that transverse latitudinally and longitudinally across Nigeria. I support this motion in totality, and I believe that we should do something that will hasten the development. This road has been abandoned for the past 40 years. There are a lot of benefits on this road, which I don't want to overemphasize. There's integration of the state is there, economic of development is there, and more than anything, women migration is very important in Nigeria. And I feel that this road will assist in migration from north to south. So, Mr. President, I support this motion in totality.
Senator Tokumbo Abiru Mukaila.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. I wholeheartedly also support this motion. And just like my colleagues they've said, the importance of this particular corridor, both to Nigeria as a whole and in particular to Lagos State. Now, it's also important that I also underscore the economic importance further, given that this particular route also links up our the Tinkan Island port in Lagos and the Apapa port. And I think that when we fast track the improvement on this road, it will also complement the efforts of Lagos State government that they have done from the point, what is referred to as the first section of the road, which starts from the Igomu Arena up to Okukumaiko. So on my part too, I wholeheartedly support this road given the economic importance that it will give to the entire corridor. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari, the President in the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Buhari Abdul Fattah, Oyo North. Mr. President, just last week when I was passing this road from Lanlate to Ishei, the journey that would have taken me about 3.5 hours, it was only 45 minutes. I was now wondering, in the first instance, why was this road abandoned? Over 40 years. And if you see the thickness of even the 20% of the road that has been completed, you appreciate it. It was very, very good job, but it only served from Abeokuta, Ibuora, Lanlate, Aduawaye, and Ishai. So you now wonder that if we are able to do the remaining road up to Sokoto, you can see the economic importance. But particularly now that even from Oyo to Ogbomoso and Ilorin road are still under construction. Had it been that road is there, probably it will have served as an alternative to our road. Any nation that abandons road infrastructure, there's going to be a problem. How do you move goods and services from one place to the other? in supporting this motion, and I'm happy with Sadiq because it linked from my senatorial to his senatorial and to Niger and up to Sokoto. I hope and pray and believe that Minister for Works will really do something about this road to serve as alternative. Even by the time we finish and they finish the Oyo-Ogbomoso road, it will still work pari passu and it will help the development of this country. Thank you very much.
Senator Ibrahim Abdullah Gobir.
Thank you, Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues. I rise to support this very important motion because it's actually worth it. I imagine to have a road that is going to link 12 states in the Federation. It shows that there is going to be a lot of economic activities, and that will add up to the GDP of this country. So many people will be surprised by the time this road is constructed. Certainly, it's going to be very, very important because it will add to the number of roads that we have, which will be linking Lagos with other parts of with the northern part of the country. So this is a very important road, and I think everybody should support this one. And it's quite timely that this motion came in. So I therefore support it, and I want everybody to support this. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Senator Geshambas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Geshambasi, Cross River South. Mr. President, I remember in the 8th Assembly, we had talked about the concessioning of roads. And in fact, we had passed a bill in this chamber, which went, unfortunately, it was not signed, assented to by the executive, on the need to concession some of these roads. And we were talking specifically about economically viable roads. This road is an economically viable road and is an ideal candidate for PPPs. But the problem we have is that the structure for PPPs is not yet in place. In this 9th Assembly, we have done what the Federal Road Authority Bill has been passed, has been read twice in these chambers, and the Committee on Works is working on it. I know that when this structure is in place, then we can have inflows from the private sector to support the public sector in building key economic roads like this. I therefore want to urge that all of us put our heads together to ensure that we put in place the framework that is needed in order to support PPPs in the road infrastructure in Nigeria, because there are so many of these economically viable roads. The federal government doesn't have enough cash to do them on their own. There is a need for partnership with the private sector, and that private sector partnership or public-private partnership is what will bring immediate relief to some of these roads. I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Mohammed Adamalero.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, this is a very important motion. It started in the 8th Senate, and we debated on it extensively. And we recommended that by whatever means this road should be constructed. Let me go down the memory lane. The history of this road started during the era of General Olusegun Obasanjo, when he was the head of state, as far back as 1978. He started it, and he left it to Shagari's government. Shagari's government was really committed in constructing this road. Unfortunately, political differences scuttled the project, simply because it was passing through UPN-controlled states. And because of that, the MPN government stopped it. And when we were in government in 2003, the three governors of Sokoto, Kebbi, and Zamfara met President Olusegun Obasanjo and asked him
to revive the idea of constructing this road. And he said, unfortunately, money is not available. But if the resources of the country improves, if the revenue of the country improves, certainly he will do it. After the time he left, nothing happened. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we now have another opportunity. Recently, the federal government formed what we call infrastructure company with 1 trillion naira equity. And there are other contributors like Africa Finance Corporation, Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority, and other sources of funding. And I believe the only way to go now is to allow this road to be constructed under public-private partnership. And when it is constructed, then we introduce electronic tolling. People are willing to invest in road construction. All they need is an enabling environment. Mr. President, this Senate, and indeed the National Assembly, should come up with legislation that will make it possible for investors to come and invest their money in road infrastructure and make it possible for them to recoup their money. Government doesn't have to do everything. I'm happy with the recent development where this 1 trillion naira company is formed. Just about a week ago, it was announced at the Federal Executive Council. So what we need to do is to package, the public-private partnership very well, pass it, and get it assented by Mr. President. And if we do that, I can assure you, Mr. President, it will be possible for us to construct not only this road, but virtually all other important roads in the country. Road construction is an economic venture. It is no longer a social service. Most countries in Africa are now doing that. I don't see why Nigeria should not do that. So I lend my support for the construction of this road, and I urge all my colleagues to do the same. Thank you very much.
Is there anybody against the bill? Those in favor, or against the motion, sorry. Let's go through the prayers. And there's only one prayer. No, let's take the prayer first, please. Mandate the Committee on Works, Finance, and National Planning and Economic Development to jointly interface with the Ministry of Works, Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA, and other relevant stakeholders to determine why the Badagry-Sokoto Expressway has been abandoned for such a long time, provide a permanent and sustainable solution plan, and report to the Senate within 2 weeks. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Additional prayer, Senator Muhammad Sani Musa.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Muhammad Sani Musa, representing Niger East. My additional prayer to this motion is to urge the federal government to, as a matter of urgency, direct the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing and Infrastructure Concessioning and Regulatory Commission, ICRC, to urgently initiate a BOT or PPP arrangement for the construction of this most important highway.
I need a seconder. Senator Tolu Odebi.
I rise to second the amendment as proposed.
It's an additional prayer. Those in favor of the additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. And like most of us who contributed said, government doesn't have to provide every funding for all the roads in Nigeria. There are some roads that we can do, construct, or build through PPP arrangements. But government is also supposed to construct some roads, especially those that may be termed not economically viable, because is the question of, is it the egg or the chicken? If you neglect them, the people, the communities in those such areas will never see economic prosperity where roads are supposed to help provide. So government has a responsibility as well there, but some of the roads like this one is a major road, and there will be a lineup of investors wanting to invest. So we should encourage the executive arm of government to come up with a proposal on how this road will be funded. And like we've said, it doesn't have to be wholly supported or funded by the federal government resources, because we don't have, really. But since we have people who are willing, companies that are willing, and I know so many. Last year to this year, there are many consortiums that came into Nigeria seeking to invest on roads. So we should provide the legislative support and comfort for such companies to feel that when they invest, they're able to get back their profits or their investments with profit. I think that is the major thing we need to do, because it will put some doubts if there are no legislative support to ensure that their investments do not go down the drain. So I believe that we'll be on the same page with the executive arm of government, and our committees should also engage with the Federal Ministry of Works, particularly, just like the first prayer provides for. We too will work with our committees and the executive behind the scenes to ensure that this particular road sees some kind of revival. We may not, the administration may not start and finish it. That is to say that even if it is an investment, it will have to spill to some few years after 2023. And of course, by the grace of God, APC will still be there, even though this is not a partisan thing. But let's ensure. Sorry, Minority Leader, I didn't mean to. You had 16 years. We are just finishing our 8 years. So we should push for this road to go through the process of PPP, because it's a very, very important road, and I'm sure we'll have a multitude of investors who would like to invest. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The ninth order of the day is a motion standing in the name of Senator Jubrin Issa on the need for immediate completion of Abadiba Egweme Power Plant Project in the Kina local government area of Kogi State. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Issa Jubrin to move the motion.
Senator Issa Jubrin.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Issa Jibrin, representing the very good people of Kogi East. Mr. President, this is a case of a very well-conceived project by the federal government, but partially executed and abandoned since 2007. The Senate knows that sometime in 2007, the federal government embarked on a power plant project at Abadigba, Egume, in the Kina local government area of Kogi State to light up Kogi East Senatorial District against the backdrop of the persistent poor power supply in the area. Further note that the project advanced with the installation of various equipment, including 3 giant power plants and 2 transformers, in readiness for connection with Geregu Power Station at Ajaokuta. Concerned that the project has become one of the abandoned projects in the country, as no effort has been made to complete it in line with the laudable intentions of the government 13 years after initiating it. Further worried that this continued abandonment of the project has led to the destruction of some of the connecting wires and cables due to bush burning, in addition to vandalization by criminals, thereby occasioning avoidable losses to the government. Informed that the project is about 7% completed according to information from engineers, and only requires minimal additional resources to make it functional. I'm convinced that completing the Abadigba Power Project will boost production activities and facilitate economic development, as most companies and business outfits currently rely on generators with the attendant increase in cost of production, leading to high prices of goods and services. The Senate accordingly resolves to mandate the Senate Committee on Power to liaise with the Federal Ministry of Power to take necessary steps for the immediate completion of the Abadigba Egume Power Project and report back to the Senate accordingly. Mr. President, I so move.
Senator Yakubu Oseni.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Yakubu Oseni, representing Kogi Central, Kogi State. I rise to support this motion, ably raised by distinguished colleagues, Senator Jibril Issa. I support this motion for a very important reason. Because when this project is completed, it will support and improve the socio-economic development of the area and by extension, Kogi State in general and Nigeria. When this project is completed, it will, in line with the Kogi East, Light Up Kogi East project of state government, it will vis-a-vis complement this effort, and it will improve the lives of the citizenry in Kogi State. And I am always worried when I looked at the level and state of abandoned projects in Nigeria. This is a project that government funds, government's scarce resources have been invested in for over 70%, and at the end of the day abandoned. So the question that we ask ourselves is that if at all it's an individual project, will you invest your money to 70% of a project and you abandon it? It doesn't really make economic sense. So if this project is completed, you will see that it is a self-sustained project. It's a project that will generate revenue for the government, and it will improve the lives of the citizenry. In view of this, I call on my colleagues to support this motion wholeheartedly, because it will, at the end of the day, improve the life of the people in Kogi East, Kogi in general, and Nigeria. Thank you, and God bless.
Is anybody against the motion? Okay, we'll go to the prayers. And there's only a prayer. Mandate the Senate Committee on Power to liaise with Federal Ministry of Power to take necessary steps for the immediate completion of the Abadigba Egume Power Project and report back to the Senate accordingly. I think you need to amend that. Not accordingly, we should give a time frame. Can you suggest something, amend it?
Mr. President, thank you very much. I will suggest that we'll give the committee a period of 1 month maximum to report back to the Senate. 4 weeks.
Okay, mandate the Senate Committee on Power to liaise with Federal Ministry of Power to take necessary steps for the immediate completion of the Abadigba Egume Power Project and report back within 4 weeks. Is that okay? Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The 10th to the 12th order of the day are House bills for concurrence unlisted as listed on the other paper. Distinguished senators will recall that these bills were read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 4th of February 2020, Tuesday, 16 February 2021, and Tuesday, 15 December 2020, respectively. Mr. President, for the simple nature of the bills and interchamber reciprocity, I will use a single lead debate on this bill.
You may proceed.
Mr. President, I rise to lead the debate on bills for concurrence from the House of Representatives. 1. Environmental Health Officers Registration, etc. Act number 11202 Amendment Bill 2021. 2. Plant Variety Protection Bill 2021. And 3. Institute of Agriculturist Establishment Bill 2021. Environmental Health Officer Registration Act number 11/2022 Amendment Bill 22 was read the first time on Tuesday, 19th May 2020. This bill seeks to amend Environmental Health Officer Registration etc. Amendment Act number 11/2022 to give the Council more professional outlook. The Plant Variety Protection Bill 2021 was read the first time Tuesday, 16 February 2021. This bill seeks to protect plant varieties, encourage investment in plant breeding and crop variety development, and establish a plant variety protection office for the promotion of increased staple crop productivity for smallholder farmers in Nigeria. The Institute of Agriculturist Establishment Bill 2021 was read the first time on Tuesday, 15th December 2020. This bill seeks to establish the Nigerian Institute of Agriculturists as a body responsible for regulating the practice of the profession of agriculture in Nigeria and with power to prescribe a code of conduct for agriculturists. The bill also seeks to ensure that agriculturists in Nigeria assume the same relevance, the responsibility for the systematic growth of the agricultural sector as their counterparts in any advanced country. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, these bills were passed by both chambers on the 8th of the 8th National Assembly. They are straightforward and have gone through the necessary legislative process in the House of Representatives. I therefore urge you all to support the second reading of these bills and to refer them to the Committee of the Whole for clause-by-clause consideration. Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues.
Distinguished colleagues, this is, we have 3 bills for concurrence, 3 bills from the House of Representatives. They have gone through all the legislative processes in the House, including public hearings. The House wants us to concur with them on these bills. So if there is any contribution, otherwise I will put the question for the second reading of the bills. Those in favor of those bills, that these bills be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Environmental Health Officers Registration etc. Act number 11/2002 to give the Council more professional outlook on related matters 2021 HB 44, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Environmental Health Officers Registration (ETC) Act Number 11, 2002, to give the Council more professional outlook and for related matters 2021 second reading taken.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act for the protection of plant varieties to encourage investment in plant breeding and crop variety development, to establish a plant variety protection office for the promotion of increased staple crop productivity for smallholder farmers in Nigeria, and for related matters 2021 HB 68, second reading.
A bill for an act for the protection of plant varieties to encourage investment in plant breeding and crop variety development, to establish a plant variety protection office for the promotion of increased staple crop productivity for smallholder farmers in Nigeria, and for related matters 2021 second reading taken.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to regulate the profession of agriculture and to make provision for the establishment, function, and administration of Nigerian Institute of Agriculturists, and for related matters 2021 HB 1104, second reading.
A bill for an act to regulate the profession of agriculture and to make provisions for the establishment, function, and administration of Nigerian Institute of Agriculturists, and for related matters 2021 second reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, in accordance with Order 81, subsection 1, I hereby move a motion for the bills to be referred to the Committee of the Whole.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the reports, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, we start with a bill for an act to amend the Environmental Health Officers Registration. And it has 18 clauses. Have we all gotten the reports? Okay, Clark, what is going on? Have we all gotten? Are we okay? Okay. So we start with a bill for an act to amend the environmental health officers. There are 18 clauses. So it's supposed to be 18. Yeah. And actually everything is retained. So it's not, there's nothing new in the bill. Sorry? There's what? Okay, what's the observation?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues. Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. At page 5, the intendment of this amendment to the Environmental Health Officers Registration Act is to give it a more professional outlook. Now, when you talk about giving a more professional outlook to an organization, the highlight will be the conduct of the professionals, and that will be determined. So at page 5, it's something they have said, and it has not captured the essence of the bill. That's what I was saying.
Mr. Chairman, please, I know this is a bill we're about to concur from the House of Representatives, but I'll get bothered about some of these groups that come up with professional outlook. By this body having a professional outlook, it means that they're going to start benefiting from the national budget in terms of stuff. That's what has been happening. If you look at the national budget, we are having so many of these agents, groups, professional bodies. Sorry? Yeah, I'm just making a comment about to inform the Senate that we need to be careful about the National Assembly generally about these professional bodies. Because what most of them do when they translate to professional bodies is to start benefiting from the national budget, from the agencies they are located. Like now, this body will now start benefiting from the Ministry of Health, and then they will now start going to institutions to try to influence the curriculum of the institutions. And we are having so many of this, and it's really affecting the national budget a lot, because they don't only employ staff in their offices in the federal capital, they now open offices in all states of the federation. So when you look at our budget and you take out what these bodies are getting out of the budget, it tells you that our capital budget and recurrent budget is really a mess. That's just my comment, sir.
Thank you very much. Those in favor that clause 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 2 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3. Those in favor that clause 3 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 4. Those in favor that clause 4 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 5 on page 4. Those in favor that clause 5 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6. Those in favor that clause 6 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 7. You didn't say anything.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My concern, sir, is the bill sought to make this a more professional body. And by that, the clause 6 is actually a new insertion after, that is 6.2. Even though from the, you can see there's a typographical error here, they put 7. It's supposed to be 6 because it says insertion of a new section 6.2. But you have 7 there. So, but the point I want to make, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is that they've not made provision for discipline of their members. They said Directorate of Practice Monitoring and Enforcement. And I thought that will not really talk about the discipline of their own members. And that is one thing that a professional body must do. So I thought maybe in the naming, it ought to be the Directorate of Practice Monitoring, Enforcement, and Discipline. Because the enforcement is actually in terms of what happened all over. But the discipline of their members must actually be captured if they have to be a true professional body. So that's just the observation I have. First, the 7 there ought to be 6, because they said insertion of a new section 6.2, but they are putting 7 there. So you need to take note of that, Secretariat. But the actual naming, I thought we should add discipline to give it more focus on the professionalism.
I don't know whether you need a directorate for discipline. Yeah, I know, but do you have to have a directorate for disciplining staff? Do you have to have a directorate for staff discipline?
Now the essence is when you practice, when you monitor your practitioners and you find them erring, what do you do? So that is what I'm saying. That except if the provisions of the directorate captures that, it's okay. I yield.
I'm not sure. I've not been too long in the civil service, but the leader is here who was in the civil service up to the end. Leader, do you need the director for staff discipline?
Mr. President, I don't think there is anything like a director for discipline. You know, when you monitor the performance of staff, what you need to do is that the officers who have been given the mandate to do the monitoring will now report any case of non-performance to the permanent secretary or the head of the agency. Now, if it requires disciplinary processes, the personnel department now will organize a committee, and give them the mandate of investigation so that they can hear from all sides of the case, and then a disciplinary committee will be set up. After the disciplinary committee is set up, then we look into the civil service rules, classified offense, and find out which offense the person is guilty of. Then they file their report. You deal it at the senior staff committee of the agency, then report to the Civil Service Commission, which is the final arbiter in those cases. So there is actually no need for any permanent directorate concerned with discipline. Discipline is embedded in the administrative process.
So I think the second issue we need to address is the numbering. You said the numbering has a problem.
If you look at what they said, insertion of a new section 6.2, but in the numbering you see 7. Insert after section 6 of the Principal Act a new section 6.2. So that definitely does not flow. That's the point I'm making. It's just I guess it's just an arrangement, administrative issue. The Secretariat should.
Secretariat, take note of that because it's not a substance. It's just talking about. So the Secretariat should take note of that. And when you do, you also inform the House appropriately because they need to do the same. So Section 7, those in favor that Section 7, Clause 7 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Yeah, DSP. The 7, the actual 7.
The 7 years actually reading, even though it says 7-1, it goes on to say 6-2, A, B, C, D to G. And then when you now have amendment of Section 8, that should be where the 7 ought to start, you know, unless I'm not reading it correctly.
I think after...
Yes, I'm sorry.
If you look at the Section 7, it says, Section 7.1, insert after Section 6 of the Principal Act, a new Section 6.2. So that Section 6.2 is what the Deputy Chief Whip talked about. And it comes before the Section 7, isn't it? And of course, yes, Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, let us be very clear about what we are doing here. What we are doing is exactly amending an existing act. This is not the act itself. It's an amendment to an existing act. So the observation that has been made by the Deputy Whip is that for this particular amendment, Section 7 is Section 7. What it's saying is that in the original act, you insert a new Section 6.2. That's what it's saying. That in the Principal Act, a new Section 6 is coming. Now, in this amendment, it is Clause 7. In this amendment, when you go to do the actual amendment, you know, which if this bill passes, it amends Section 6 of the Principal Act. Therefore, the numbering that you have here is in order. If you look at 7.1, then the 7.1 amends Section 6.2 of the Principal Act. Then the 7.2 is the one that starts with each directorate. You get me? 7.2 refers to Section 6, that's Section 6.2, when you come to do the amendment. Then when you do the amendment in the thing, then the Section 2, it will be 6.2 in the Principal Act. But here, for our purpose, it is Clause 7 for this particular amendment. So the issue that they are referring you to the Principal Act. So there is no problem with the numbering or with any of those issues there. We should take this particular amendment as an amendment, and the clauses we are looking at are the clauses as set out in this amendment document. If this amendment is passed, the people who are going to, the draftsmen, are going back with this amendment to the Principal Act and carry out the insertions that are necessary to bring the Principal Act, you know, up to the requests that is being sought here by this act. So I think it's in order. For us, let's go through the clauses as they are. Then after we finish this, those who are to do the drafting will go back to the act and then amend as appropriate.
Well, Leader, I will yield, but honestly, when someone is amending an act, the deletion of our insertion should also reflect in the ordering. Not after we finish amending, then somebody will go and start working on it again, because you don't know what the outcome will be.
We amend, Mr. President. The draftsmen don't amend. It is the content of the votes and proceedings here that is the actual amendment and not the draft man's job out there. That's my understanding. I may be wrong.
Okay, thank you very much. The confusion here, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, is if you look at 7.1, it says insert after section 6 of the Principal Act a new section 6.2. And then they say section 6.2, what it ought to be. But if you check the next two, which in this clause is 7.2, is now saying each directorate shall be headed by a director, and except for the directorate under subsection 1G of this section, all other directorates shall be headed by licensed environmental health officers. Now, if you check, by the time you go to do the amendment, is it going to now read as 622 or what? Because it means 2 is now being replicated. And I think this is where the confusion now comes in. That was why I was raising the issue in the first instance. Ordinarily, it ought to, if you have added 6.2, this 2 ought to be 3. If truly you are following it as an insertion, following after 6.2. Because 6.2 here, that is 7.2, is an explanation coming after 6.2 to say that for the directorate you have listed, this is what should happen. So ordinarily, even if you are taking it to the Principal Act, I should see 6.2, which is a new insertion, then 6.3 or 6.2.1, depending on what method you are using. So I think this is where the issue must be looked at critically.
I think we are amending section 6, not 7. Yes, only section 6. So 7 is not affected. And that is why they put retained, that 7 is retained. It's 6 that you have added, you have inserted 6.2. Maybe now I can see the point made by the leader. But as for whether draftsmen should go and rework this, I don't think it's possible. Because what they will do is only to reflect what we have done. Verbatim. Even if there are grammatical errors, they must keep them there. So, but I can see the point you made. We are not amending section 7. That's why they indicated retained. 7 is retained. So maybe we are okay. Can we make progress now? Okay. So we have already taken clause 7 and clause 6. Those in favor that clause 7 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 8, which has also been retained. Clause 8. Those in favor that clause A stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. We have something similar in amendment of section 10. I think that should have come after 9, isn't it? That should have come after 9. Leader, did you see? Yes. Yeah, those in favor that clause 9 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 10. Those in favor that clause 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Aye. This report is a difficult one. Leader, honestly, I have a problem with this. Because if you go to page 7, even though maybe they are not amending the clauses, but at least they should have put retain. There's no 11, in fact, even 10 is not there. There's no 12. Yeah, but they should have retained. Well, it's a concurrence, but I think next time maybe we need to look at these things properly before we schedule them. Yeah, I think the numbering is a little bit. If I want to suggest something here, maybe I shouldn't be the one to do it. Leader, can we stand down this particular one? Yes. Let these things be sorted out. Huh? Because we are making a law, so we shouldn't make a. Yeah, the clerk, you need to sit down with them in the house, because we have. Really, I can't understand the way they. And I pray that the next two are not the same. Yes. So we are standing down the consideration of this particular report. We take the next report. The next report is on plant variety protection bill. You see, this one is a bit better. Yes, Senator Abalai Nala.
Our record will reflect that we stand down the consideration of this without a proper motion. Can we have a proper motion to stand it down so that we can keep our records neat for this purpose?
When we go to plenary, we'll make that motion. In the report, when I report progress, we will indicate that we have stood down the consideration of this. Thank you. So this one has 59 clauses. And they are all retained. And I think it is okay from what I've seen. This is the way we had expected the previous one to be. Even if you are not changing anything, it should be there to say you have retained it. So I will make the speed a little bit more. Those in favor of clauses 1 to 10 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. 10 to 20. No, 11 to 20. 11 on page 4. Those in favor that clauses 11 to 20 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. 21 to 30. (21 to 30). (21) on page 7. Those in favor that clauses 21 to 30 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. 31 to 40. 31 on page 12. Yeah, all retained. Those in favor that clauses 31 to 40 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. 41 to 50. 41 to 50. 41 on page 14, 50 on page 17. Those in favor that clauses 41 to 50 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. 51 to 59. 51 to 59. Those in favor that clauses 51 to 59 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum on page 21. The last page is retained. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Short title. Short title. On page 21, sorry. Those in favor that the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. And the long title on page 1. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The last report on Institute of Agriculturalists and has 44 clauses and also has everything retained and is in the format of the immediate one that we have considered. So I don't think there's Leader, is it okay?
All we are saying is that the bill that we have just done and this one that seeks to make agriculture a profession, I think are landmark bills, that have defied previous legislation, to really make agriculture a profession in this country and also to legislate on crop varieties, and a lot of it will really resolve a lot of the technical challenges in the agricultural sector. So these are things that are long overdue, and I really do commend those people who initiated the processes.
Please. There are 44 clauses. Those in favor that clause 1 to 10 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. 11 to 20. 11 to 20. 11 on page 6. 11 to 20. Those in favor that clauses 11 to 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. 21 to 30. 21 on page 7. 30 on page 10. Those in favor that clauses 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 stand part of the bill say aye. Yes, Senator Barrow.
Sir, Chairman, clause 24, a person shall be eligible to be admitted and registered as a member if that person is a holder of a degree or equivalent qualification in agriculture or agricultural sciences. Sir, our rural farmers, our rural agriculturists, would they...
No, they are not professionals. They are not professionals.
They are not professionals. Mr. Chairman, sir, for someone who has been farming since he was born,
it's not a professional.
Okay, thank you very much. We are here talking about professionals, not farmers. Someone who has gone to school to read agriculture, not someone who has been practicing farming. So that's what I did. Please. So it's not like we are excluding anyone. Those are farmers. They are not agriculturalists. So those who are at clauses, those who are at clause 31, 21 to 30 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. 31 to 40. Those who are at close, 31 to 40 is third part of the bill, say aye. Those against saying it, ayes have it. 41 to 44. Those in favor that clause 41 to 44 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against saying it, ayes have it. Schedules. Those in favor that the schedules stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against saying it, ayes have it. The explanatory memorandum on page 17, the last page. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against saying it, the ayes have it. The short title on page 13, the short title. Those who are at the short title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against saying it, the ayes have it. The long title on page 1. Those who are at the long title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against saying it, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the motion be read the third time. The bill be read the third time. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. Mr. President, I move that the chamber reverts to plenary for the president to report progress.
You have not been recorded.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion that the Senate revert to plenary to report progress.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate reverts to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against saying it, the ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the committee of the whole considered the... No, this is not the way it's... No. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole consider the Environmental Health Officers Registration ETC Act number 11, 2002, Amendment Bill 2021, and approved as follows. That the bill be stood down for further legislative action. Is this a true reflection of our transparency in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole also considered the Plant Variety Protection Bill 2021 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 59 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole also considered the Institute of Agriculturalist Establishment Bill 2021 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 44 as recommended, schedules as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that the bills be read the third time.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I second the motion that the two bills be read for a third time.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the bills be now read the third time, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act for the protection of plant varieties to encourage investment and plant breeding and crop variety development, to establish a plant variety protection office for the promotion of increased staple crop productivity for smallholder farmers in Nigeria and for related matters, 2021 HB 68, third reading.
A bill for an act for the protection of plant varieties to encourage investment in plant breeding and crop variety development, to establish a plant variety protection office for the promotion of increased staple crop productivity for smallholder farmers in Nigeria and for related matters, 2021 third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to regulate the profession of agriculture and to make provision for the establishment, function, and administration of the Nigerian Institute of Agriculturists and for related matters, 2021 HB 104, third reading.
A bill for an act to regulate the profession of agriculture and to make provisions for the establishment, function, and administration of the Nigerian Institute of Agriculturalists and for related matters, 2021 third reading, and the bill third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Congratulations, Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, having concluded today's proceedings on the order paper, I hereby move that Senate do adjourn to Tuesday, 9th of March, 2021 at 10 a.m. I so move.
It's Tuesday, 9. Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate adjourn for Tuesday, 9th March 2021 at 10 a.m. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, many of our committees have a lot of activities going on. Some about 3 or 4 committees are already out of Abuja. Others who are here have a lot of investigative activities, and others have just normal committee works. So tomorrow, we devote the whole of Thursday for committee and other legislative activities outside of the chamber. Those in favor of the motion that the Senate do adjourn until Tuesday, the 9th day of March 2021 at 10 a.m. from say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned until Tuesday, the 9th day of March 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt.